Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are baking a cake because my podcast officially turned 1 year old this past week. I'm so proud of it. Kinda Cute podcast. If you like pop culture, it is the place to be. And I figured today I would take you along on my cake baking birthday cake adventure, but also discuss pop culture along the way to really honor Kinda Cute, the podcast. So we are making Ina Garden's chocolate cake. She has a chocolate frosting with it, but we're gonna mix it up and do a, what's it called? Cream cheese frosting. And then we're gonna do a layer of strawberry cream cheese frosting in the middle. So I think it's gonna be so good, and Ina is my corn queen. So I've actually kind of prepared everything for this cake. These are all of our dry ingredients sifted together, and these are our wet ingredients. So I'm just gonna pour this in. Guys, when I was sifting the ingredients, it was like a cocoa powder dust extravaganza. It wasn't cute. Just gonna wipe the bowl down real quick. So really what I wanted to talk about today was Taylor Swift's surprise album. I've been on so many group chats, people asking me for my opinions on it. So I figured, what better way than to do an in-depth discussion in honor of Kinda Cute right now. Oh, that's chocolate. Because I used like half the special dark cocoa and half regular. Also, you know I have to have my drinking companion. It's Blue Moon's new light beer. It's pretty good actually. Kenzie agrees. Kenzie, you can talk in this, you know. Okay. Kenzie put on what she calls her Timmy Turner hat so she can feel like a film crew. She also has on her Kinda Cute sweatshirt, and I wish I had another, you should get your phone too so I can get some footage of you behind the scenes. She just ran off like Timmy fucking Turner. This is coffee that I made this morning, Bots Coffee, botscoffee.com. This is what Ina calls for because coffee, fun fact, brings out the richness and flavor of chocolate. That's live cooking for you guys. This footage of Kenzie Turner.
Kenzie Turner.
Here's our setup.
I feel very official today. It's like, oh, I got 2 cameras, I got the ring light going.
Cut it off already, sorry. Okay.
They can hear me on that.
Okay, I guess I should bring the pans over, huh?
Do you want to scrape it one more time and maybe like mix it again? Because the sides look like they could be scraped a little bit more.
I wasn't really nervous about that. I was more nervous about like making a mess. Pouring it was what the concentration was. All right, they're going in the oven. Frosting time, but I'm ashamed that I haven't even started talking about Taylor Swift yet. So before we start doing all of this, let's start with song 1, The One. It's a fine song. It's not offensive to me. It's not my favorite. My theory is about Calvin Harris, and it's her theorizing like, what if he was the one, and what if it had worked out between them? That's like my only thoughts about that song. Sorry guys, that's all I've got. Also, can we appreciate this mountain of cream cheese and butter? Holy shit. So next up is Cardigan, and that is the one that she released a music video for. I thought the music video was pretty impressive considering they did it with social distancing, and it's very pretty. It's her like crawling into her piano and then crawling into like she thinks she's crawling out and she crawls into an ocean, and then finally she ends back at home and she has her cardigan that, by the way, she's selling as merch. And I like Cardigan. Again, it kind of reminds me of Lover on Lover. It has that vibe to it to me. And it is the first part, or one of the parts, of the teenage love triangle, which we will talk about in a second. Okay, so Taylor has explained that 3 of the songs on the album represent a teenage love triangle and 3 people looking at the time when it happened at different points in their lives. I think Cardigan is from Betty's perspective, and she is looking at it later in life, looking back on this time of high school. And then, like I said, we'll get to the other two, which are August and Betty, and we'll bring it full circle. Next up is the last Great American Dynasty.
Yes.
And I think this song is really interesting because this is about Rebecca, who actually owned Taylor's house in Rhode Island back in the day, and she was married to this like big guy in the steel industry, super rich, and she kind of lived this like Gatsby-esque lifestyle, and then she was a widow. And Taylor walks through all of this and kind of talking about how then after that Taylor takes over and she becomes like the new Rebecca. And this resonates with me because I own my house by myself, and when I was getting facial done, I learned that this lady owned it by herself back in the day, and in a time when it was like rare for women to own their own properties. So I like that little tie-in, you know. So track 4 is Exile, which is probably my least favorite track on the album. For some reason, I just don't like when Taylor brings in male voices. I honestly like Taylor by herself. I like a pure, unadulterated Taylor, and I think Bon Iver, I'm just like, I don't need your little punk ass, indie ass self up in here. I don't need it. I don't think it adds anything. I think the song is slow and boring, and it has too much of him in it. So that's my thoughts on Exile. Next,
Bon Iver wannabe.
That's like the best quote in To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Noah Centineo says it to Israel Broussard's character. So track 5 is always considered like a pretty deep, good song, and it's called My Tears Ricochet, and it was actually the first song that Taylor wrote on the album. And she wrote it by herself, which is, I think it's the only song she wrote, because obviously like Jack and Aaron Dessner from The National and Jack Antonoff from Bleachers, they wrote and produced most of the songs on it with her, but I'm pretty sure she wrote My Tears Ricochet by herself. And first listen, it was one of my favorites. It's a really dark subject matter, and it kind of talks about a ghost haunting someone. So in the lyrics, it kind of has a haunted vibe to it, but I like the sound of the music, and I just think it sounds cool. So track 6 is Mirrorball, and track 6 is always like, You Belong to Me was track 6, right?
Yeah,
I feel like track 6 is always a good one. And Mirrorball has a really 90s Cranberries vibe to it. This was highlighted by my friend Matt, who he did, oh my god, we should insert the clip. Maybe I'll ask him if I can put it in. But he did like a mashup singing Cranberry over Mirrorball, and it works so well, and it just feels like you're vibing. Like, it'd be the perfect thing to like cook a cake to, honestly. And Matt also described this album as nipply caftan weather summer album.
Nipply caftan.
Yeah, like that's so perfect. Like just you like outside, like literally like wearing like the type of dress she's wearing in the Cardigan music video. It's a vibe. What's after Mirrorball?
The next one is 7.
Oh, 7 is track 7. No shit. 7 is, I really like the sound of 7. Again, thematically, I don't love when she does ones that are about her childhood, and 7 is definitely about her childhood. And there's an interesting lyric about hiding in the closet, which some people are taking to hint at her bisexual nature and her secret love affair with Carly Kloss, Kaler, if you will. Again, I don't know how I really feel about that. I don't know how true that is. I think Taylor kind of likes playing with the audience on that, but this one's definitely about her childhood specifically, because a lot of the songs on this album aren't autobiographical. It's kind of her imagining like these storytelling and these folklores and these tales that can be passed down. So, but that one, I would say it's definitely about her, because she talks about Pennsylvania and she grew up there. So yeah.
August.
So August is my favorite song on the album, and I just love the way it sounds. It's like, again, those crush feelings that you have with, you know, Delicate, I would say. It's kind of the Delicate of this album. Not as good, but, you know, it's what we're working with. And this, again, is the second part in the teenager love story. This is from the third girl's perspective. So there's 2 girls and a boy, I'm assuming. They could all be the same sex because they have kind of like androgynous names except for Betty, but we're going to assume it's 2 girls and 1 boy. And another fun fact is James and Inez are the names of Blake Lively and Ryan's children. So people are speculating that the third name might be Elizabeth or something. Because those, you could think that Inez is the name of the other girl. So we'll call this Inez. It's from her perspective. And it's her looking back and talking about how the boy in this was never really hers. And I feel like the first line kind of alludes to her like losing her virginity to him, and just looking on it when she's like maybe in her early 20s and like drinking a bottle of wine and remember the feelings she had when she was young and just realizing that she never really had this person. But again, I love the sound of this song. It's like the one I've listened to over and over again the most so far. Next up is This Is Me Trying, and this is sort of like the one to me. I don't have a lot of concrete thoughts about it. I like it, I wouldn't skip it, but not my favorite. You know? How do you feel, Kenzie, about it?
This one I feel like is the most emo sound.
Really? I feel like there's so many. I would say Epiphany is the most emo.
Maybe between the two of those, yeah. I kind of like Folklore because I actually think this is finally like Taylor, even though Taylor doesn't look like the girl who ever went through a scene phase, but I definitely feel like this one is finally the one where she like delves more into like the actual like emo music.
And this fits in actually what my friend Liz said, because she says she loves the whole album because it really reminds her of her emo indie days in high school, which is how I think she described it.
I think it's not necessarily like, I don't think it's seen like a boys like girls thing. I think it's more like a Death Cab for Cutie.
It's not like Good Charlotte.
I think it's like Iron and Wine, Death Cab.
It's so Iron and Wine.
Yeah. And I think I vibe with that. Like, it's definitely stuff that had this been in 2008, it would have been on the Twilight soundtrack.
Ain't that the truth?
But I will say, Twilight weirdly has a good soundtrack. Like, if you actually look through the Twilight movies, they have some pretty good songs.
Oh my gosh, it's also like that one song that everyone fucking uses at their wedding. It's like da 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 da.
Perfect?
No, it's like you know that one?
Are you talking about like the classical music?
No, like it's that song in Twilight.
Oh, 1,000 Years.
Yes. I'm sorry, I was really doing a shit job at singing that.
Yeah, Christina Perri's 1,000 Years.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was in what, Breaking Dawn, I think.
And everyone fucking uses that to walk down the aisle. If you're having a wedding, please don't use that song. Like,
no,
it's so overplayed.
Just use Pachelbel's Canon. Canon in D major. That's really what's the best one out there.
Okay, so what do we have next?
After that is Illicit Affairs.
Illicit Affairs actually might be my least favorite just because it's very blatantly about cheating and I don't vibe with that and I don't like it and I just don't really like the song.
Invisible String.
Invisible String. Invisible String is like a sweet song and it kind of has the that Rascal Flatts song like where people use that at their wedding a lot too.
Bless the Broken Road.
Bless the Broken Road.
I like that's a great one. I'm sorry. That's actually a great one.
If you want to use that at your wedding, it's fine. But it kind of is this concept of like all of these things happen to lead me to you. And I was kind of imagining, she's talking about being in Centennial Park, which is in Nashville, and she's imagining like meeting someone there. And she references a boy in a teal shirt working at a yogurt shop, and Joe Alwyn actually did work at a yogurt shop when he was younger. So she's just like talking about them in their separate time, like where they were in these separate times of their lives and at each little thing that had to happen to bring them together and the invisible string that brought them together. It also has a lot of like golden imagery. It has a lot of the imagery that is on Lover. It felt very like it could have been on Lover to me, that song.
Mad Woman.
Mad Woman, I kind of love this song because of the message. I don't like love listening to it, but it's a huge fuck you to Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun, who basically tried to screw Taylor over and not letting her have her masters. And it actually is the first time that Taylor drops an F-bomb, and she drops a few and then does so again in Betty, but Betty comes after this.
And then it's Epiphany.
Epiphany I think is really sad because it kind of has like this war imagery, which I think is based on her grandfather. And then it also has literal COVID imagery, people hugging through plastic. So this is another least favorite of mine just because I can't listen. I like feel like those songs drain me. It's like the one about her mom on Lover. I literally have to skip that song because it makes me cry.
Betty is next.
Betty is the third part of our love triangle. So this is from James's perspective, and he's kind of realizing that he's like a total fuckboy. Betty's a fun song. I like Betty. I feel like Betty's a lot of people's favorites. Using kind of cute colors to dye our frosting. Okay, Peace and Hoax, I just don't have that many thoughts on, guys. Like, I think maybe it's because they're at the end of the album. I haven't listened to them as much because I tend to get sidetracked and like listen over and over again to the ones I really like. They're kind of just like fine to me. I think Peace is definitely like a love song. And I think it's sort of saying to Joe, like, you'll never really have peace with me because of who I am. But I hope that you're willing to work through it, past it. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really paid attention too much to it, honestly.
The other interesting thing is that, you know how I was talking about how Aaron Dessner and Jack Antonoff are like the two main writers on it? Well, the only other person, and he wrote on Exile and Betty, is someone who goes by the name William Bowery. Now, Bowery is an area in New York, and this person, William Bowery, it definitely seems like it's a fake name someone's using because they don't have any writing credits to their name. And when Taylor Swift wrote the Instagram caption saying thank you to the people, she didn't tag William Bowery, she just wrote out his name. So people are surmising that it could be Joe Allen. And I think that is a pretty good guess. Earlier this year, her brother released a song that was on the Killing Eve soundtrack. It's one of the episodes, and it was a remake of, which song was it?
Look What You Made Me Do.
Look What You Made Me Do. And it's this like really slow vibe, sort of like the same vibe as Folklore, as Kinsey pointed out to me earlier. And so I guess the other person it could be is her brother, but I think since it already kind of came out that he worked on the Killing Eve song, that they probably would have just said it was Austin Swift. And people were also theorizing that he did that to get around Scooter's ownership of her masters, which I don't really understand legally how that works, but that's just a theory. Oh, I didn't show the teal.
The teal's looking good.
This reminds me of these colors of the hook cake. Every time I dye frosting, I'm like, oh my god, the hook cake. Where they're imagining it.
When they imagine it, yeah. I love that scene.
It's like my favorite scene in the movie. So that is my Taylor Swift thoughts. Please listen to my podcast because I feel like my podcast is way easier because I'm not trying to cook a cake at the same time, and it is a little more planned out. So give it a try.
You won't be disappointed.
Thank you, Kinsey. She listens to it every week. She's basically my producer. Fergie's eagerly awaiting me to drop something.
Oh no.
Okay, oops, I thought Kinsey had turned the camera on and she didn't. So I did just a lot of shit off camera.
You really need, what you really need, you need to invest in one of those spinning ones that you set the cake on.
Yeah.
That's really what separates the boys from the men. The girls from the women.
It's also like I just should have leveled the cake, which is
the JVs from the varsities.
my stupidity.
It makes, it's definitely better than this one, but it makes me think of
You missed a Harry Potter cake.
No, the Sleeping Beauty cake.
Oh.
Before she uses magic.
Yeah, that's valid.
It's really good.
Good.
Yeah, okay, we should never buy those fold tops again.
I didn't even mean to. I feel like they're all made that way now. We just need some actual pastry bags.
Yeah, I need gran. Our grandma always makes our cakes for like our birthdays growing up, so she has like a lot of different pastry bags and piping bags, and it's all very official.
You enjoying this?
A little bit.
Wait, did we talked about Peace and Hoax, right? I said
Yeah, you said they were meh.
Just making sure I completed my...
This is some very rainbow fish feels.
I love rainbow fish.
Yeah, we know. I know.
I wish I had iridescent glitter. Oh! This is why you just keep going, even when it's shitty. You just keep on trucking. It's fine. Everything is fine.
scream more than anything. You're losing precious globs of frosting.
Okay, you know what? It's easy for you to say sitting over there.
Hearts.
Wait, we need to get a good shot of it, Kenzie. Hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in my next video. Bye.